Well, Columbus Day is over. One of the biggest lies, you know, our country was built on. And then we have people uh, like our president with the least amount of voters. If it wasn't for Russia collusion, with Russia's spying, with Russia's espionage, with Russia's whole plan using the racial division, like Abraham Lincoln said, a house divided cannot stand. And we have a country divided. We have it divided against white racists that think they should walk around with little torches, which they're going to bring us all back into the time where caveman time. Shit. They're gonna never mind. If they was all that choosing, if they was all supreme and all that, we wouldn't have our water polluted. We wouldn't have our air polluted. We wouldn't have our soil. We wouldn't have the type of toxic environment that we have to live in now, where diabetes, cancer, syphilis, gonorrhea, HIV, herpes, you name it. you know, and I guess it was predicted because of the white man's way they think and the way they act as warmongers, that of course that they would bring it into the world. I mean, that's all the white supremacists going to be able to do is to they're evil. Um, there is sort of old tale about when the white man showed up and pretty much to them, black people look like gods. I mean, they understood the physics, they understood nature, they knew how to take a plant seed, grow it in the desert by irrigating it. Look at the Sahara Desert now. There's still big pools of water in there. But the white man was all in there fighting World War II, World War One, ever since Alexander time. They're still fighting there actually. So they had slowly. There's a story behind that that's sort of funny because of them they were in the desert and they were living in the desert. They pretty much, well, it wasn't a desert for them. Um, they knew how to irrigate and they grew plants. God had provided them every needs and wants that they need. The earth had provided them with every need and want that uh, from plant life. They was able to make clothing, like cotton, but so they were provided nature, the earth, nature, God, but as they called it, the earth provided them with everything that they need to pertain life. Their only duty was to keep the earth healthy. That's been violated, and um, so anyway, as the tale goes, is that white people, like they were they're looking for gold, they're looking for riches. One black king went up and showed off. You know how men always want to show off, so showed off all, you know. So they want all the gold. They want, and they also wanted they don't understand the knowledge. These people had certain powers. Um, they know how to make glass. They understood the wheel. They understood like pulleys. They understood gears because like they would like put teeth on their wheels and you know and then they could have things move. So they was able, um, but they just had a good understanding, uh, more so than what we have now, and because of the way the mother and the father worked together and harmonizing uh, uh, their life. Well, anyway, the story goes is that they, anyway they wanted what these people had, so they 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 seen them coming off a while, and the only scragglers that they had left in that what do they call it? They didn't call it in their clang. They call it like in saying their because like the way they had it, it's like almost like you would have like an army with different platoons, and so each family, of course, could be any size. Just like you could have any, you could pick anybody for size of your platoon. They always tell me. Well, I guess you could pick any size for, it's no set amount. But they would also break off um, like the brothers would, they would once they matured enough and started their own family, they might the tribe used to break off, or the clan used to break off, and like it's about when they got big. But anyway, so they were used to traveling. They were used to, but or had to go. So they saw them coming. The old peoples were stragglers. Women and children, it was always their procedures to go first with, um, guided by their male counterparts, and then comes teenagers afterwards. And well, anyway, so they had indoor plumbing because um uh, they understood the function of gravity. They understood, um, they were physics and scientists, and that's what made the white men think that they were magicians, or they had magic, or they were witches, because of their understanding of nature, how to use it. They were said they like they could draw a light, uh, right out of the air with the right equipment. Mostly, they did use gold, and which the white man wanted. So you know. So anyway, so they left everything right, and they did leave like something akin to a mixture that was sort of like copper pipes, but it was mixed with something. But anyway, um, um, so that was like the first thing when they came to their like when they came to like when they went to take over their area. The people were gone. Um, the wells that they had, they took some the parts to with them. So they you know they they just took everything, and they did leave like something of a sand castle, sand house, or the structure was built out of sand. But they would mix pretty much they make bricks out of the sand in a way that it would stay a while. It's like using some grass and different plants. They didn't necessarily always have hay, but they were very knowledgeable. And and they one thing they couldn't understand was how did they make soil. They couldn't understand how they did all these things. And um what they would do was separate their manure, they would get like in a big vat, get caught in a big vat. There was water, heat underneath one part, and there's like a hose where another vat, a big container, um, and I guess like while it's boiling, the steam would go off, so the liquid from the solid of the manure would be separated, and the solid would then be clean after they extract the other, and then they catch it over there. And it was like we have a lot of highly gaseous material in our anyway. So, and the clean was what they would become their topsoil. But anyway, so this is nothing, and it's all because of the way they did their plumbing, and they had an aqueduct and different things. So so anyway, so when they came, they got really the white people got really mad because like the people are gone, so they're looking for the stuff. They find the pipes because like pretty much um I guess they started like look at got somebody got angry and started banging the walls, and like it's all like they had it so it was all easy to get to. It's pretty much exposed, but they left some, not all of it. It's just in some places they just figure they'll you know they'll get some new, make some new, or they just didn't take everything like that was left, that was part of the dwelling. Some that stuff got left, so they took all that, and like they couldn't understand like the room where they had where water was brought in so you could excrete your bowels and urine, and it gets carried away to where to where it is well you actually they urinated in one area and pooped in another type of container, so they had separated um and so they didn't understand that. Well, anyway, so they end up catching up with an elderly man because like they're totally like they don't understand, they can't they can't do anything with the land. Everything was already there. All they had to do was re put in the stuff that was like make it themselves and re put in the stuff that was removed. But they had no comprehension, nor did they try to understand from the other person's perspective. They wanted them to explain to them from their perspective, which um wasn't told, which anyway didn't work. Um, so the best they could do is like capture somebody and have them do the work, but they still wanted this gold. So they capture an older guy, and these people, because they work so hard on the land, with the land, and using their mind, the story goes, they lived a long time, and they're in, even though like he was like in his 90s, because of the way the white people were aging, like to them he looked like he was in his 30s, you know. Because they also were very meticulous in taking care of everything that had to do with nature, even themselves, and all the animals that were around them too. They understood that every animal will communicate, even if it's just a simple fact of food or survival, but they will have some form of trying to get out their wants and keep it on them. Anyway, so they capture the guy and they want to know like where's the gold, where they had gold, they had diamonds, but they would utilize like the gold and the diamond. The gold was a good conductor for electricity. So like that was another thing is that these houses didn't have no like black silk or smoke marks or anything. Like immediately after they come in and they build their fires, everything changes. And they bring their animals in. They never brought their animals into the dwelling where they're at. The white people, they brought their animals in that dwelling. So, and then all at once they have poop and they have pee all over the place. Or this place was before they can't understand like how where do you poop, where do you pee, they're like so he tells them like the closet there or whatever. But anyway, so the guy tries to explains to them that how to do stuff, which they don't want to hear. So then what he tells them, he sits down and he goes, you have 4 directions to go in life. Just like we have the north, the south, east, and west, you have 4 directions you go in life. The two of them will lead to, total richness, happiness, but it would be unified with everybody, and that's why why people were so jealous. It's like there didn't seem to be no poor amongst them. There didn't seem to be, what I mean, because they were living off the land. They weren't living. They weren't living for to work for somebody else. That was slavery. The only freedom that you have is to live off the land, to grow your own, to grow like cotton, to make your own clothes, to shear a lamb for winter clothes, to gather roots and berries and nuts, and all this makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise. And that's and if you take the other 2 directions, one is totally deaf, and the other one's a slow death. They pick the white man in his misunderstanding, in his stupidity, decided to take the path towards death because they figured that they wanted all the money, they wanted the riches, and I think that we're coming up to what was prophesized, is that the right word? And what was predicted as what would happen, that if you do not take care of the earth by way of taking the soil, taking care of the soil, taking care of the water and the air and everything, and God in gaining knowledge and respecting the the how food is a fuel, and you need to continue. You know what I'm saying? Because like our diets have changed like 100%. Well, anyway, the old man that was left behind, his claim to fame is he was very good at keeping like rats and stuff and whatever animals out. So anyway, he's mixing up this delicious smelling meal, and he decided he was gonna make a fine meal. And, these guys are just like they want to beat them, hit them, and like they just horrible people, rapists, and just try. They think causing pain and death is what makes them superior. Which anyway, so he decides, I'm gonna, I'm just gonna kill myself, but it's gonna be a fine meal. So he's mixing up this food, and he sits down and he's drinking some water. And before he eats, he drinks a little bit of water. He's thanking the earth for providing the water and providing all this, and basically he's preparing himself to end his life. And the leader comes in. They smell this food. The leader comes in, tells one of the guys, picks up the food, and walks out. They all eat his food. And the way the story goes is like, about Adam and Eve and the apple tree. Well, the thing with the apple tree was that the reason why it was forbidden fruit because the seeds, when you grind them up, it's like, does it make cyanide? But anyway, it's poison. It makes you foam in the mouth and like seizures, whatever. It's grind up the seeds, and that's the reason why it was because they have rules. It's a forbidden fruit if you don't use your wisdom and knowledge, like don't eat the seeds and stuff like that. It's just like pork, you can't eat pork unless you have the knowledge and understanding that it has to totally cook or it's poison. You can't eat this. Even though I've seen people eat raw bacon, and then later on they go in the hospital, they don't know. Nobody knows what happened with them. But it can kill you. Diarrhea beforehand. But anyway. So they ate up all the food, and they all died. And while they was eating, he just slowly walked away. And when he walked away, he cursed them. He said, "Since with your greed, I guess he cursed them." And I guess like that for them to walk in the wrong way, or no, his curse was not for them to walk in the wrong way, so that if they want to live in the greed, if they want to live in the ignorance, let them die by their ignorance and their greed. And like I don't know, for some reason when I look at Trump and I look at Pence, I see those white people with their war just running over people in different lands and just massacring, just killing them, just for because they want to be rich. And that's what I feel like the story came full circle. I think we are at the end of time because we have two fools in office, the president and the vice president. They can't see the bigger picture through the hate, and they can't see, how they're being used as puppets. How Russia and China is using them to destroy the United States, and they're going, hey man, they're gonna go in there and steal that big old pot of that delicious smelling food